How's it going, guys? I hope you guys are doing well. I know still just in the midst of this aftermath of Ida. You can tell that my background is different again, just because we're traveling. Um, so with that, man, I want to just make this really kind of quick as we kind of go through chapter three. I'm welcoming questions. If you have any questions, anything you feel like is unclear as I'm kind of going through the lecture, like please let me know. Shoot me an email, put it on Blackboard. Also, just make sure, guys, you're checking your Blackboard messages. That's going to be our primary way of communication with you. You can email me also at De'Aaron Washington dwashington at nobts.edu. But my primary way of contact to you is Blackboard Message, so it's really important for you to like check those. Let's just tell you about the update. So I also apologize. The video is later than it usually is throughout the week, as classes are starting to open back up, as we're professors and everybody's getting back into a regular rhythm. We're gonna try to get back on schedule. We can have these lectures available to you a little bit earlier. Um, but hope you guys are doing well. If there's anything that I can help you with, anything you feel like, man, I'm stressing right now. I'm concerned about where I am in class right now. Please shoot me an email. Please let me know. I can't help you if you don't let me know. But I want to work with you. I want to make sure we can get you through the semester. Um, but yeah, in general, let you know, guys. I'm excited as we just continue to go through the semester. Yeah, we had some setbacks, some challenges due to the storm, and sadly, we're not out of hurricane season yet. But we're gonna use the time that we have. Anyway, like I said, I was just gonna make this brief. So now, as you kind of go through chapter three, chapter three is it's really the birds and the bees talk. Maybe you got that from your parents, maybe you didn't. But this gives a lot more detail. It tells you a little bit more about conception. And then, yeah, we don't get into birth yet, but we're just talking about conception. We're talking about the things that can affect a child in the womb. Uh, and I want you to notice as you even read this chapter, and usually look through some of this, man, yeah, we get into some of these minute details, but man, I think it's always helpful for us to remember that, man, we, inside of our mother's womb, God is forming us. He's shaping us. He takes, as we think about even this chapter, that things as small as a zygote. And then 9 months later, there's a whole child. Like it just reminds me of the scriptures that, man, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That God is a powerful God who works out these little details and brings to fruition things that we couldn't on our own strength. And even as we go through this, we'll see even the thing of conception and a child that comes up with no developmental issues. Like it's really grace from God. Um, but anyway, let's even go forward. So we're starting at pregnancy and prenatal development. So make sure I got this. So the three structures that kind of work closer together, kind of coordinate our biological makeup is our chromosomes. We'll talk about those in a little bit more detail, but we know, from parents, we get 23 from mom, 23 from dad, 23 pairs, and we end up with 46. Um, we have DNA and genes, like this makeup, like these are things we get from mom and dad, makeup, like the um, biological makeup, like our genes, DNA, but even to the point like what we look like, hair color, how tall we're going to be, or even to the point sometimes diseases that we're inclined to, or sickness that we're inclined to. So we want to think about these are the things. And guys, even as you think about this, man, to think about how small these things are and how they, at the end of the day, you got a whole baby. At the end of the day, we think about ourselves like, man, we started as chromosomes, DNA, and genes, and now we here. Now you watching the screen. Man, what an amazing thing. So now we got the chromosomes. They're like thread like. Let me see if I can move my. All right, I'm moving my screen just a little bit. And this PowerPoint is available to you if I'm blocking like some of the words. But we got this thread-like structure in the cell. Come in 23 pairs. We'll see kind of what that looks like on a chart in the PowerPoint. And then it contains like genetic material. Each parent, once again, contributes like half to this. So think about this. Once again, chromosome, just so small, but eventually becomes a whole baby. So you look at this and you see that in chromosomes we have these 23 pairs. So you got pair 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, and all the way down to 22. So 22, you got these pairs, but then at 23, that's when you have like the sex cells, chromosomes, if you will. Like to say, like, all right, mothers only carry like X chromosomes. It's the father's sperm that determines like the sex of the child. So we can look here and say, like, all right, this is XY. This is the boy. Because that 23rd pair tells us is it a boy or if it's a girl. If it was a girl, you would see like 2 X's here. But once again, 23 pairs, but that last pair is tells us the gender of the child, the biological makeup of the child. So DNA, we got the DNA. It's shaped in kind of this double helix. You've seen pictures in your book. There's any question on your quiz, but it's a double helix. It contains like genetic information, contains like what we're made of. So chromosome, DNA, genes. Genes. So we got the segment of the DNA. So you can see chromosomes here, like containing like this gene, because it's a unit of hereditary information. All these things are working together, and we're gonna show like what this kind of looks like on a chart to show like, all right, what does it look like as a form of like us? So we got 4 building blocks for genes. This is found in like DNA. You got your A, G, adenine, guanine, crystalline, thymine. Like these are connecting using pairs. You look at any picture of a DNA, it's gonna show you like these proteins, like these chemicals like coming together. They're being paired up. So look, so here's the structure of a cell, but this helps us understand. We think about chromosomes, we think about genes, we think about just DNA, what that kind of looks like. So we got the structure of a cell here. We got the nucleus, and we see the chromosomes inside of it. But then we got the chromosomes. We break the chromosomes down. What the chromosome has is DNA, and inside the DNA there are genes. Guys, all these things are working together. It seems so, like I said, so small, so little when you consider these things under our microscope. But when these things come together, we're gonna get a whole baby. We're gonna get a whole baby. All right. So mitosis and meiosis, and so we think about this in and one thing I want to do, I want to show a video to kind of help explain some of this too. So, all right, here we go. We're gonna play it.
The goal of mitosis is to create 2 identical cells from the original, the same exact DNA, and all the same organelles in each daughter cell. First, the cell has to duplicate its genetic materials, and then those copies separate into 2 new nuclei. The goal of meiosis is to make 4 different cells with half the number of chromosomes. In meiosis, things start the same way. A cell has to duplicate its chromosomes, but from here, there are some differences. During prophase, the homologous pairs swap sections of their chromosomes, creating more variation in the genes. The homologous pairs split up in the first division. But in the second division, the chromatids separate into single chromosomes. This gives 4 totally different cells with half the normal number of chromosomes. But why would we want any cells with half the number of chromosomes? Sex! Oh, sure, now you're paying attention. But seriously, in order for the sperm of the father and the egg from the mother to make a normal baby, they each have to contribute half of the chromosomes. The sperm and the egg are haploid, which means they have half the normal amount of chromosomes. To show the haploid number, we write the letter N. In the case of humans, the sperm has 23 chromosomes and the egg has 23 chromosomes. And when they come together, they create a zygote with 46 chromosomes. This is 2N because N plus N is 2N. The new zygote is diploid. It has the normal amount of chromosomes. Different animals and plants will have different diploid numbers for their species. For example, fruit flies have 8 chromosomes, dogs have 78, and lilies have 24. All of the somatic cells in your body are diploid. Somatic cells are all the cells in your body except the sex cells or gametes. Those are haploid. The only sex cells are sperm and egg. Males make sperm in the testes, and females make the eggs in the ovaries. Males make sperm continually from puberty, but females are born with all of their eggs in the ovaries and only begin to release the eggs after puberty. It's a kind of a strange thought to realize that half of your DNA was around in your mother for years and years and years before that egg was finally released, fertilized, and became you. It's pretty amazing. Thanks for watching this episode of
So, guys, I hope that is kind of helpful as we think about mitosis, meiosis. We think about relation to like cell division, but also like we think about how the sex cells, such as sperm and like egg, have like 23 chromosomes, and these come together, and now we have 46 chromosomes together. We can just understand like division just a little bit more, and maybe this is taking you back to high school biology. But yeah, these are things you're wondering, man, how could that what we need that for? But this just makes sense in light of like just thinking about the development of a child. And if the details seem confusing, I want you to just come back, pause, and bring it back just a little bit, just to say that, man, these small cells start multiplying, and at the end we get a whole baby. This is another example. This chart is it's on the PowerPoint that's available on Blackboard. Now we got the hereditary disorders. So we got the mutation. So man, I'm be honest with you. So the thing about mutation, the thing that comes to mind to me a lot of times, I think about like is the X-Men. This may date me, and you think about just the nerd factor here, but that's essentially like X-Men, because they were talking about having these X genes. They talk about when you got the X gene, like you're a mutant, you got this mutation, or even to the point you think about Spider-Man, who was bitten by a radioactive spider, and this caused a reconfiguring of his DNA, of his cells. That's just a little, tidbit, a different thing like that. But when you think about mutation, it's just this change in the DNA. And move this once again. There's a change in the DNA that impacts the arrangement of genes of how normally like these things will fall in place. But if there's this little like abnormal thing, okay, this can cause like a mutation. Sometimes these things they occur the accident or through environmental like influences, like radiation. It can happen. But then we get to like particular like heredity disorders, and on the chromosomal level and the genetic level. And we'll talk about those in a little bit in more detail. So we got Down's syndrome, which is caused by extra copy of chromosome 21. So think about it. We got these 23 pairs. So what happens in Down syndrome is that in that 21st pair, there's an extra chromosome. So instead of being 46 chromosomes, there are 47, which causes some abnormalities, and you could probably think about those. It talks about those in the book some. But then we got Klinefelter syndrome, where the male has this, instead of having XY, he has XXY. And then Fragile X syndrome, and we're going to see like this on the chart in just a few, of this sense of, man, there's an impaired like X chromosome. And it affects males a little bit more severely than females. It can lead to some learning disabilities, some developmental delays, speech and communication like issues. Turner syndrome, this occurs in females. Instead of having the XX, they have the XO. It's called short stature, infertility, and like the web neck. So look here, you see Down syndrome, and we can look down here at pair 21. So you see, usually in these pairs there are two, but in Down syndrome you got this extra one. You got 3 here. So instead of having 46 chromosomes, you got 47. Then we have Klinefelters. And we see right here, once again, God's supposed to have like XY. He has this extra X here. Turner syndrome. Instead of having XX, you got this XO, and then Fragile X. So you can see right here, this X chromosome. This is an impaired X chromosome right here. And so genetic disorders. So as you think about genetic disorders, some of these are more common in certain, in people with certain cultural and ethnic like backgrounds. You think about Tay-Sachs disease. It's a recessive gene, but it occurs in those who are Jewish and Eastern European. They lack an enzyme to break down like fatty material in the central nervous system. Something when doctors find this out, like they try to put them on a different diet. But they appear normal. The child's okay, look normal at birth, then 6 months in, and then sadly, without like proper treatment, like at 4 or 5, like usually the child doesn't make it because of this genetic disorder. But then we have something like sickle cell. Sickle cell is more common with those of African descent. And it occurs like the blood cells, looking like this sickle. And there are a number of different effects of it. But one thing, backing up just to take this big picture of like, sometimes we think about certain genetics, certain cultural backgrounds, certain ethnicities. We find some of these genetic disorders more common in them. Cystic fibrosis, it's a heritage disease. Once again, we're thinking about, man, these are things that can inherit. And man, I even want to just think about these things of like, man, this is what can happen to a child on such a minute level. This sense of, man, genes not aligning or not falling in place, or chromosomes being impaired, or there been extra pair, like all these things to know that, man, this is what can happen inside of a child as they're developing at a very like small stage. I mean, it makes you just think about these things. Even you think about it, man, just think about, man, how we got here, and if there's no developmental delays, like it's sometimes not because parents didn't have the right, prenatal care. I mean, at the end of the day, we just have to see it's because of God that He creates us, He holds together, He sustains. But also just to think about those who, man, maybe they do have these genetic or chromosomal disorders. It doesn't mean that they are less than human. They're still made in the image of God. They're just impaired in some ways. This doesn't make them less, but they're still created in the image of God. I think we want to continue and keep that in mind. Yes, there are people who have these chromosomal or genetic disorders, but they are not less human. They still deserve the same dignity and honor and worth. They still have a soul inside of them. Anyway. All right, this is another just genetic disorder, spinal bifida. All right. So we can see just what this kind of looks like on the picture. So Tay-Sachs disease, and then, we see kind of at 15. All right, and then we look at in sickle cell. We see those blood cells becoming like this sickle. And then this is also the spinal cord, spinal column like didn't completely close in spinal bifida. Cystic fibrosis, PKU, fertilization process. So guys, we're just thinking about the menstrual cycle, and just think about, man, the Lord has created a woman's body, and they go through a cycle of preparing an egg to be fertilized and then preparing another egg to be fertilized. So we think about all these things, just having to fall in place, ovulation, and thinking about, man, that God has created the woman's body to they have 2 million eggs available. Like, man, so many eggs available like early on. And you think about that with guys, like, man, I'm gonna start producing like the reproductive material sperm until later on in life. But yeah, so the thing about, just to help us understand, man, all these things falling in place and how like the developing it, the material, the genetic material, the cells, the chromosome, all these things that are needed to get us a whole baby. And sperm, once again, we got this is the carrier of the X or the Y like chromosome. This determines like the baby's sex, and then producing the man's testes. And it got 23 chromosomes until it meets the other 23 in the egg. That's how we get it. That's how we get us a baby, and can fertilize an egg up to 24 to 48 hours after ejaculation. So we got twins. So we got fraternal twins and identical twins. So fraternal twins are when like 2 eggs are fertilized at the same time. That means a woman's body may have produced 2 eggs, during their menstrual cycle, or released 2 eggs. Then identical twins, this happens when like 1 egg is fertilized, but that egg splits, and those kids have identical like genetic makeup and often look like each other in a lot of cases. Fertility challenges. So one of the things we want to understand, man, is that even as we think about all these things kind of falling in line, there's still chances of infertility, whether in male or female. And it's hard, it's difficult. And we consider the things that can happen to people. So as we think about just infertility, we just know, man, this is just a thing that causes people much sorrow and depression, and sometimes feeling ashamed. And we can look at examples in the Bible of women who struggle with infertility. And we know that the Lord is the Lord of the womb, and he can open the womb. But I just want us to acknowledge that because we live in a sinful and broken world, that at times our bodies don't operate as God has designed because of the impact of sin, not because we have done anything sinful. Yes, we are sinners, but also just because of like the effects of sin in this world. And it's something that no matter where you are serving, there may be times where you encounter this. And I just want to be very frank that it is a reality for some. And it's not a death sentence. There's hope in the Lord, but sometimes he chooses not to open the womb. It's still just sad reality, and sometimes just quick practical thing, and sometimes it just takes some time to just really lament those things and to really grieve that, man, that the sin has affected us in such a way. And then we got the causes or types. We have for men low sperm count, inactive sperm, sexually transmitted disease in women like delay in childbearing, like endometriosis. Like there are a number of things that can cause infertility. And one of the things I just want to acknowledge, man, this is an issue. This is a problem. But there are a number of things that can assist us, that assist those who struggle with infertility. And I'm not going to cover these just in depth. But one thing I want us to do, you have the things in the reading the book. I want us to consider, and you put this in the discussion board later. But also, I just want you to consider personally, like, man, as you're looking at some of these things, are they ethical? Are they things that we as believers can say we can get behind? And if so, like, tell me more about that. What makes you say, hey, yeah, we can get behind this? If not, like, man, tell me why not. Help me understand this, because as we think about these things are, if we struggle with infertility, these things are available to us, but we also have to put on this critical Christian like framework and mindset to be like, is this something that we can say we can participate in, or maybe not. And I want to come to you and say, man, I'm not looking for you, man, to have this like just clear like, hey, this is what I've decided. But man, if there's even struggle, if you're even just wrestling to be like, man, I just don't know, man, tell me about that. Tell me what makes you a little cautious about some of these. So yeah, I just want you to consider that. We won't have more discussion about that, but man, I just want you to consider that. Like, are these things ethical? Are these all options for believers? And if they are, tell me a little bit more why you say there are. And if they're not, tell me more why you say they're not. This is more. And then, like, so here's the thing. Like, all right, so if infertility, that's a struggle, but that means adoption is an option. That means sometimes the Lord uses adoption to kind of bless people. And we can say, man, it's this adoption. Yeah, I'm volunteering, like taking a child and saying, hey, this is mine. This is mine. I'm taking them on as my children. And we gotta have this biblical framework for this, because that's what God does for us. He adopts us to the kingdom. He takes us and says, no, I'm making you my own. I'm adopting you as my child. You are mine. But so that's that. We have that spiritual, that biblical picture. But it's the option for those who maybe struggle with infertility, but maybe they don't struggle with infertility. Adoption is another option. Also, adoption is an option for having a child. And there are two types of adoption. There's closed adoption. That's essentially like our biological parents are not involved in this. They're closed, but open to be like, man, the biological parents can have like some input to the adoption process. There are pros and cons of adoption. You can take some time to kind of look at that through the PowerPoint. But yeah, there are things to consider inside of adoption. Like, it brings some challenges and it brings some blessings. For example, pros, your child will never have to search for birth parents. Cons, your child will never your child may wish to search for their birth parents. In a sense of like, man, they'll be yours, but maybe they'll think about, man, okay, I'm adopted, so who are my birth parents? They're just cons, but blessings and challenges. Not to say that we should look at these and say, oh man, this totally closes off to adoption. But it just presents us with challenges. Not death nails, but just presents with some challenges. But there are also some blessings that come with it. These are sometimes considered as maybe you're considering adopting. Maybe you've adopted before. Maybe you have personal testimony you can kind of tell. And it'd be great to share. All right. Types of adoption, we have those like embryonic, like frozen embryo. We have foreign adoption, people going overseas. We have domestic adoption, people adopting in the country, prenatal development. So we can see for people go through these, maybe go through these 3 stages: germinal, embryonic, and fetal. So germinal, this first 2 weeks after fertilization, like zygote is formed. It kind of is like ball of cells. We can see, all right, people are developing. Then we got the embryonic stage. This is the 3rd to the 8th week. Like, man, there's some big changes that are kind of coming up here. Like we can see like the skin, the hair, nails, teeth, nervous system, lungs, liver, pancreas. And then 6 to 7 weeks, like organs start to repair, or they're starting to form. Fetal, like 3rd to birth, like, man, they're starting to really develop. And we can start to see at this point also like the baby's sex, the baby's gender. But we see, man, if nothing else, just seeing about like this embryonic, the germinal, the fetal period, it's just like, man, there's a lot of development that happens in 9 months. Once again, we're just acknowledging and being in awe that, man, God is creating, God is making. He starts as a zygote, and now we got a whole baby. Fetal period, which I'm not going to go into detail. Fetal period, 8 months and 9 months, we got a baby, and it's time to birth them. Prenatal testing, there are things to kind of see. The ultrasound, we can kind of see what the baby kind of looks like. Amniocentesis, like they're testing for like chromosomal like abnormalities. It's done kind of like the 15th week of pregnancy. AFT, AFP tests, once again, this is just ways we're just checking to see, man, is there any of these chromosomal or genetic disorders, are there any other things, just to make sure, man, that the baby is developing and there are no challenges. So we just think about also this just all as the baby's developing, this is a fragile time. These are things to kind of consider, guys. If we think about the biopsychosocial model, we're thinking about, man, even inside the womb, the things that are going around the baby really affect them. So with that, it's just important, even for the mother with prenatal care, to think about diet, exercise, and rest, because without these things, this can increase the child's chances of not surviving. The mother must take care of herself, but also the environment must be a place that is healthy for the child. The exercise, so emotions and sense of self, culture. You want to think about culture is very important here. You want to think about how pregnancy is viewed in different cultures. Even, man, think about your own culture, wherever you grew up. How did people view pregnancy? For example, you think about, when do people usually get pregnant? How did you, where do you, in a sense of all right, was it people got pregnant more teenagers, pregnant marriage, pregnant while they're single? How do people view their pregnancies? Not the person, how they view their pregnancies. Because that makes a big difference. Some people would say pregnancy is pretending, some cultures, if you're pregnant with a male, you're like, oh man, your family's prosperous. You're pregnant with a female, the Lord has cursed you. That's what happens. Is just think about, how does the culture view pregnancy? Pterogens, these are things that harm pregnancy. Any environmental agents. You got infectious diseases, chemical substances. So this is HIV, AIDS, and then you got chemical substances. This is cocaine, heroin, meth. Most of these are kind of avoidable, but these are things kind of consider that, man, this can affect the development of a child if somebody has these infectious diseases, syphilis, or different things like that. If it's not treated, then it can cause the child to have some serious effect. And then chemical substance, we can tell you, if a mother is on heroin, then the baby, when they come out, they will crave heroin. They will have these withdrawal effects. And it takes the doctors weaning them off of that and detoxing them, if you want to use that language, so they can develop. Because otherwise, they may have some developmental delays. And they may have some developmental delays depending on the level of substances that are in the child's systems. Infectious diseases, syphilis, we talked about that, rubella, storage diseases, general herpes. Once again, we're just talking about infectious diseases. These are the diseases that can affect the child that a parent may be carrying with them. AIDS, HIV, prescription drugs, things that can affect the baby's development. Illegal drugs, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin. Once again, we can talk about these can cause problems within a child, because whatever the mother eats, whatever the mother intakes, the child is getting that, and that impacts them. Marijuana, and marijuana is one of those, people are still determining the effects of it on birth. As you could probably look at certain states, some would be oh no, we don't want to do that. Some would be they're for, they're pro, because the data is still going back and forth, as we can think about people are legalizing marijuana now. Smoking can affect babies. It can cause difficulty breathing, low resistance to infection, and cause long-lasting effects after birth. Other effects are smoking. Alcohol is one of these big things, fetal alcohol syndrome, because there's essentially there's no amount of alcohol that people have found that, man, if you have alcohol while you're pregnant, this could affect your child in a number of different ways. So it's best as you're pregnant to avoid all, because it can cause a developmental challenge for your child. So alcohol is just one of those no-nos as you're pregnant. All right, so guys, we'll finish the lecture. Once again, I know this was like very quick. I tried to make this one a little bit short and really just straight to the point on some things. But like I said, if there are any questions, anything that you would like to kind of talk about more, like please let me know. If anything was unclear, like please let me know. And yeah, and man, as we're going through this time, like is there any challenge, anything I can help you with to make sure like you're succeeding in class, like please let me know that also. All right. Have a good day, guys.